Alright X, I've got a weird story to tell you guys. I don't come to this board all that often, but this seems like the right place. Be me. Serving in prison for street racing. Yeah, I know it's stupid. I did it once after getting pressured by my friend. Got caught immediately. 2 months in, get a new cellmate. Nice enough guy, but scared of everything. Mumbles to himself. Get to know him. Turns out, he's a paranoid schizophrenic. Wakes up screaming some nights. Tells me about his delusions. He knows he's messed up. Except them men. I know they're not delusions. I'm not crazy. I see those eyes every time I close my eyes. I'm never gonna unsee that red light. Starts rambling about how they come for him at night and he got himself in prison to stay safe. Won't tell me what he did to get locked up. Dodges the question every time. Fast forward a month, we become friends and he opens up a little. Tells me how he used to never sleep because that's when stuff would go down. When he would start to doze off, his body would start to feel really heavy, and he'd get a vibrating sensation in his limbs, like a heavier, slower version of the way you feel when your legs fall asleep. A humming noise will start out quiet and get louder and louder, and a bright white light fills the room, and then it slowly turns blood red as the hum reaches its peak pitch, like a skull-splitting tinnitus. Says he usually blacks out after that, but not always. Sometimes I see them. They don't want me to remember. Ask him what he means. Starts describing greys in great detail. I didn't believe in aliens at the time, so I thought he was totally nuts. Short, with limbs longer in proportion to their bodies than humans, about 4.5 to 5.3 feet tall. Grey, almost see-through skin. He said it looked more like a membrane than it did human skin. Massive black eyes that reflected everything like a mirror. They smelled almost like a burning phone charger. I asked him about the smell, but he just shrugged and said it was hard to describe, that it didn't really smell like burning plastic and wire, but it was the only way he could word it, since he'd never smelled anything quite like it before. Says he's getting uncomfortable, that talking about them for too long makes him anxious, so he goes to sleep. Next day we had art therapy. Yeah, really stupid, right? And he gets all twitchy and starts drawing creepy stuff. We start art therapy. Basically, we do it to let out our feelings because it's supposed to help people be less violent or something. I don't really know. I just start doodling. I'm usually a pretty chill guy, and I didn't really have anything on my mind. Danny, my cellmate, seems to enjoy these sessions for the most part, even though he's not very good. This time is different. Super anxious. Says he was up nearly all night, even though I was up late and didn't hear him make a sound. Keeps scratching his neck obsessively, constantly chewing on his forefinger. Looks on the verge of some sort of panic attack. Therapist tells him to try and draw what's upsetting him. Stares at the paper and charcoal for like half the session, and then starts feverishly drawing. Fills the entire page with shades of red. Can barely make anything else out. Looks vaguely like a bedroom. Can see a blurry doorway. What looks like a bed. Maybe a dresser. It's all messy. You can see 3 figures near the bed. Blurry, except for the eyes. Huge, pitch black, almond-shaped eyes. They are surrounding the bed, with a staticky stick figure, Danny, in it, screaming. Therapist asks him to tell him what it is, and he just mumbles about a nightmare. Ask Danny about the art later. Tells me it's usually what happens when he sees the greys, but his therapist tells him it's a nightmare or sleep paralysis. Nightmares don't leave marks. He turns around and shows me the base of his neck. There is a faded scar, small, perfect circle with a triangle of 3 dots in the middle. What the hell? He says he's woken up after nightmares with bruises in strange places on his body, other triangles made from dots. Therapist claimed it was just him self-harming in his sleep, or sleepwalking. That's a load of crap. It's time for lockup. Don't feel like sleeping, so I get in bed to read. On the first page of a new book, when suddenly Danny sits up, freaking the hell out and yelling. Dude, what? I ask him what happened. He said they came for him and took him away. Now I know he's nuts. Tells me to look at the time. There is a clock you can see from outside our cell. It's been 4 hours since lockup time. I was reading the same page that I started on 4 hours ago. There's no way I fell asleep or anything. That was one of the creepiest things that ever happened to me. Danny said losing time is common, but that he didn't see me on board. Why the hell would I lose time too? I've got more, don't worry, this is not the end. Get really freaked out. Don't want to believe him. Get checked out by the prison doc and psych just in case I'm losing it, but they say I'm fine. Get cleared, so I just pass it off as dozing off while reading and not realizing it. Couple weeks go by as normal. Going to the yard, art therapy once a week, go to the library, etc. Prison starts letting inmates have chalk in their cells, so they can draw or write whatever, and it can't be used as a weapon. Danny starts drawing the faces of the Greys again, and drawing odd line symbols that are like dots with lines, kinda like constellations. This is near the end of my stay. Think it was within the last month or two. Been waking up with headaches, nosebleeds some days. Not exactly strange. They can be side effects of the allergy meds I take. Looking forward to getting out. Danny still has a while to go. Still don't know what it was or for how long. We stay up late one night, drinking crappy prison wine. The idiot who gave it to us messed it up, and it tasted like vinegar and piss, but it got us messed up. Drink till we're on the verge of passing out, when suddenly, Danny freaks out. Crap, 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 do you hear that? Anon, please tell me you don't hear that. It's the humming noise he mentioned. Oh no. The noise gets louder and louder, and a higher whine can be heard over it, and Danny is pounding on the jail cell door, screaming for help. No one comes. No prisoner tells us to shut up. No guard comes to slam their baton into the bars. What the hell is happening? A bright, pulsating white light is filling the prison, searing my eyes. Suddenly turns blood red, and everything goes dead quiet again. So quiet, you can hear the blood rushing in your ears. I try to hide under my bed. Can't move. It's like I'm made of lead. My body is buzzing like it's made of bees. Start to panic. Want to scream for help. Ask Danny if he's okay, but I can't even open my mouth. Get the sudden feeling of being watched. In the glow of the red light, I can see shadows on the wall. Shadows start moving around. Suddenly, I feel a sharp pain in my head and get a mental image of myself frozen in the cell, with Danny a few feet behind me. It was like someone put a camera in the cell and I was watching. Image was gone, but I could sense something was next to me. Everything goes cold, and the vibrating gets worse and more violent, almost as if the cells in my body were being thrown around. I can feel myself being lifted off the ground. Close my eyes, and even though I'm not religious, I start to pray. What else am I going to do? To anything that will listen. The red light is seared into my retinas. I'm screaming inside, but nothing comes out. Suddenly, I'm in a room. It's steel-colored with no light source, but evenly lit to the point of no shadow. The next thing I see is the eyes Danny mentioned. They were horrible. Massive eyes that took up like a quarter of their face, almond-shaped and slanted like 45 degrees. It was pitch black. I could see my own terrified reflection in them. Those massive, wet, black voids reflected every inch of terror in my face. Those things did not look remotely human. No drawing or Photoshop or mask has come close to how awful those things were. The waxy, membrane-like skin almost pulsated. Images flashed through my head. Me and Danny, the aliens, the prison, pictures of planets, organs, stars. It gave me a massive headache. I don't know what it was trying to do. Suddenly I'm in the prison hospital. They found me on the floor of the prison cell, with a blinding headache, lying in a pool of my own vomit and blood pouring from my nose. They found Danny huddled in the corner sobbing, shit in his pants, covered in scratches and bruises. Doctors and guards questioned me. They thought we were fighting, even though no one saw or heard anything. Anything at all. No one heard our screaming, the lights, the humming sound. How the hell? Told them that we got drunk, but we did not fight or anything. I had no idea what happened to Danny. They released me in time for dinner, head still pounding, and my whole body aches, especially my neck. IV helped, but I wanted to get actual food in my body. Danny wasn't in the cafeteria. Didn't see him for another 3 days. Danny tells me they questioned him, asking why I attacked him. He says the wounds were self-inflicted, that he had a nightmare and he clawed himself and hit himself in his sleep. They kept him under observation to make sure he didn't try and hang himself or something. Neither of us want to talk about what happened that night. All he asked was, "You saw them too, didn't you?" I nodded. "You know they're not going to let you go now, right? Once they set their eyes on you, you're in their sight for life." Obviously, incredibly creeped out. Neither of us sleep well for the next weeks. Nothing major happens until a few nights before I'm out. Mostly headaches and nosebleeds. Go to sleep. Wake up in the middle of the night to the humming noise and bright red light. Please God, no, not again. I can't take this again. The humming died down and the light fades away. I breathe a sigh of relief. I realized it was probably just sleep paralysis. Used to happen to me as a kid, but I just see the old hag. Fall back asleep. Wake up to the sounds of guards yelling at me and slamming open the door. They tell me to get up and spread up against the wall, hands up. What the hell is going on? Start barraging me with questions. Where did Danny go? How did he get out? Did you help him? What? Keep telling them I did not do anything and know nothing. They bring me to a room to interrogate me more. After a few hours of the same stuff, they let me go. Talked to some other inmates who were in my cell block. They didn't see anything either. A guard who was friendly told me the cameras caught nothing either. It's like Danny up and vanished. Danny was gone for 3 days. Cops put out an APB for him, thinking he escaped. On the last day, some convicts found him in the rec yard, his foot somehow pinched in between weights that were already on a bar. He had to go to the prison hospital for dehydration and some broken ribs, as I found out later. They never found him on footage on any camera, so there was an investigation to see if there was a cop trying to get inmates out. Don't know if anything ever came of that, but I know for a fact this wasn't the cops. There is no way he would vanish without a trace and then reappear, clipped through metal. I never got to see Danny again. I left the day after he came back. He wrote to me a few weeks after I left, telling me the night he vanished, he saw the red lights again, and he hoped it would be the last either of us ever did, but we both kept seeing them. I don't have it happen often, but Danny probably does. Looking for his letters now, he had a few stories. Sorta. A lot of the drawings and pop culture stuff capture the general gist of them. Eyes, stature, head shape, etc. But seeing one in real life is more horrifying than you can imagine. Something about their presence is just wrong. Like they don't belong. Like they should not exist. Kinda like in a Lovecraft way, minus the going mad when you see them. Even if you don't see one, if one is around you, you will know. You won't just have a feeling of being watched. It's like your body reacts to being just near this thing that should not exist. I don't have any bruises or injection sites like Danny does. I have had bruises in the past, but nothing recently. I still talk to Danny on occasion, I'll get to that, and yes, I have had experiences since getting out. I'll look for the letters and art for you. The only signs are the buzzing, lights, and paralysis. Sometimes I hear almost a musical sound in my head. It's not really a tune, or singing, or someone humming. It's almost like it's the idea of music. It's strange. Not sure if it's in my head, or something I actually hear. I honestly don't know what they've done to me. I don't have clear memories of what happens after the lights. I don't think they strap me to a bed. They seem to paralyze me. I can't move anything besides my eyes. It's horrifying. I don't know if it's out of fear, or something they do to you. I doubt you could even move a finger against one. Despite the frailness of them, they radiate a kind of power that I've never felt before. Danny's letter. Hey, hope you are doing well. I'm sure not. They're talking about sending me to the psych ward now. They think I'm crazy. If I were, then I'd think so too. But you've seen what I've seen. You know how real this stuff is. You are just as scared as I am. Remember that night we saw the red light? It happened again. I started praying to God a few weeks ago. I asked him to protect me from this evil. But instead of angels coming to deliver me, they did. I remember every single thing they did to me. They hurt me. They put me on a table. They cut me open and stuck me full of glass and copper and glowing tubes, scanning and probing my organs. I saw it all, every little bit. I thought I was going to die, but they made sure I did not. I passed out. I woke up with no scars or wounds. I ached all over. I don't know how much more I can take. I want to die. At least in a psych ward, it will be hard to take my own life. As afraid of them as I am, I'm scared there is something worse on the other side. Take care. Danny. P.S. Here is one of my drawings from therapy. Keeping them scares me, but it feels wrong to throw them away. Be me. Living in a little blink and you'll miss it town in a shithole country. I work at a PC repair store, but we do more general, electronic repair related stuff. I actually have very little knowledge about this stuff, but almost everyone in this town is a boomer, and you'd be amazed at how many people come in complaining about their broken PC, and it just turns out it's covered with dust, and after a good cleaning, it works like a charm. If it's not that, you can be sure they downloaded some shifty shit online, and you just run some antivirus software and problem solved. Anyway, I'm at work like normal when the local head cop walks in, sheriff equivalent I suppose, and he tells me he needs some help with some tech related stuff on a case he's got. Sweating Pepe.jpg. Like I said, I know very little about this stuff, but once you fixed a boomer's PC or laptop or phone one time, they think you're a savant. Get permission from boss to go help. Go to police station. Have to sign some stuff about how I'm like an IT advisor on the case or some stuff. He starts asking me if I saw any weird things around town recently. Weird? Eventually, he slides me a smartphone. Tells me some local girl went missing and her friend says she got abducted by aliens while they were making blogging videos of some kind, and he needs me to find them so he can watch them. The way he said aliens was very sardonic, and I think we both just assumed she was freaking out or something. I'm dead inside as I scroll through this phone. We got the password from the friend. Somehow she knew it, and realize I'm literally just here to find the video on her phone and click play. There were a couple different folders with videos, and this boomer cop honestly did not even know how to find it, and thought he needed some IT genius to hack into the phone or some shit. So, I'm going through the different folders, trying to find the most recent video. Whole time, cop is telling me what happened. I honestly think there must be some sort of law against that. Like, he can't just tell me about this case and the people involved, but when you're in the middle of nowhere, people don't really care too much about the rules. If the family wants to sue him for that stuff, I imagine they'd have to take him to the nearest city, because we don't even have a proper courthouse. Anyway, I am half listening as he tells me about how the phones at the police station were going crazy last night and how people were calling in about lights in the sky and people prowling around the gardens. Apparently, some guy even heard his door handle rattling as someone tried to open his back door. I'm just like, yeah, that's crazy. I was drinking and watching anime last night with my headphones on, so I didn't hear any of this stuff. Every video is just this girl, sometimes with her friend, talking about some K-pop band they like, or cooking and doing recipes and stuff. All the videos are like 3 to 5 minutes long. I eventually found a video that's 10 minutes long. 10 minutes exactly. I imagine the phone automatically stops at that point and skip to the end, and it's just like 2.5 minutes of nothing. Phone's just pointed at the ceiling fan, and then it cuts off. Bingo. Track back to the 3-minute mark. Girl is lying on her bed, talking to her friend. It's a split screen, and her friend is just chilling at her house, I'm guessing. They're talking about some stuff, super forced and awkward. I think they were uploading these to YouTube or TikTok or some stuff, in hopes of becoming famous. Missing girl eventually stops laughing, and gets this terrified look in her eyes. I say her eyes because her face was barely moving. Looked like she had a stroke or something. She's really still, but her eyes are really panicked. She must have had the phone leaning on something, because it did not move at all. At this point, the cop has shut up and has moved next to me. So this girl is lying there, looking like she's got a gun to her head. Imagine her phone lying to her right, by her head, probably propped up on a bedside table as it records, so we can see over her and out her doorway a bit, but most of the room is off screen. Her friend starts asking her what's wrong. Girl's eyes are darting like crazy now. I think she was trying to say I can't move, but it was from out of the corner of her mouth and really mumbled. Really looked like a stroke victim. Video goes on like this for like 30 seconds. Her friend is clearly scared, but obviously doesn't want to freak out, just in case it's a prank. I would have thought it was a prank, but I notice one little tear run down on her face. This girl is clearly terrified. Eventually hear floorboards creaking outside girl's room. Light from hallway gets a bit dimmer as someone walks in front of it. Oh shit. I'm about to watch some serial killer walk into this room and take this girl. Feels like CSI Miami. Girl's eyes are fixed on her doorway. They are bulging to the point that they look like they're about to pop out. Figure appears in the doorway. Very tall, very dark, quite wide across. Literally needs to turn shoulders to enter through doorway. For some reason, the fact that it looked right first, the wrong way, into the other room, scares me. Like, it just gave it this very human element of searching the rooms for someone. Honestly, was not even thinking at this point. I was just watching this shit like I was completely detached and like this wasn't even happening. Like when you're dreaming, but you realize it's a dream. There are like 3 of these things, and they enter one after another. The best way I can describe these things is that they look like a mix between an owl and that thing from Spirited Away. No Face is the name, I think. Imagine that thing, but with an owl's head instead of a mask, but it also has a little lipless mouth instead of a beak. They get closer, and I realize that those giant black ovals where the eyes are supposed to be aren't dark feathers, like how an owl tricks you into thinking it has giant eyes. These things actually have massive eyes. The biggest difference between these and normal aliens is how big they were. The heads and eyes were massive, but not really disproportionate to the bodies. Looked like pick related, but they were wearing clothes like No Face. Black shawl looking things. Made it hard to tell what their bodies looked like, cause it was just a solid black mass, but definitely clothes, and clearly the bodies under them were huge. We just sit there, dead silent, as these things walk towards the girl. Her friend has been screaming the whole time. They stand over her, and I notice that she is screaming too, but it's muffled, and coming out the corner of her mouth. It's like I'm honestly watching somebody have a sleep paralysis episode. They reach out. Hands and arms are very stereotypical of grey aliens, slender and pale, but when juxtaposed with those huge bodies, they almost look like tentacles. 2 of them literally pick her up, like she is a sack of potatoes, like they don't even look her in the eyes. They carry her out the doorway. The one in front makes quite a big bow to make sure she does not hit her head. Weirdly, the camera does not move during any of this, but after the 2 are gone with the girl, it suddenly gets knocked over, and we can hear quite a lot of clattering. I guess the 3rd one did it. Cop literally whispers there were signs of a struggle, I guess for my benefit, or maybe the story was just making sense in his head. We just sit in silence for the next 3 minutes as the video rolls, while pointed at the ceiling fan. That was basically the end. I left the police station like I was a ghost, just wandering around, and I never got called back. The girl was never found, and the whole town just seems to have gone. Huh, I guess she got abducted or something. I don't know if anyone else saw the video, and I never told anyone but my sister, but the whole town knows the story now, and I imagine about half believe it. I think the video probably still exists, and I've asked the cop about it, but he just says he can't give me case evidence. Suddenly he cares about the rules. I don't think any men in black came and scared him or anything, and I imagine he's shown it to a few people. My one friend told me the story in perfect detail, even though I never told him. The phone is probably sitting in a desk drawer right now, about 5 kilometers away from me. but I'm not about to go break into a police station to prove it to anyone. I think the official story is that she got kidnapped by 3 dudes in masks. Anyway, I still think about that girl sometimes. Her eyes looking at those things, and the way they looked at the wrong doorway first. So awful. I once saw an alien during a dream vision. Not all dreams are significant, but every once in a blue moon I will experience a dream that goes beyond the typical limits. These are dreams where the meaning is clear, inspired, or in other words, more than just a mere dream. I call them dream visions. This vision began as a normal dream. I was inside a house that was settled in a valley. Suddenly, the dream is interrupted, and I gain lucidity. A heavy fog appears, and a large alien craft descends. It was like a fat saucer. It lands in the yard, directly opposite the front door. The ship opens up, and little greys, although they were kinda greenish, come walking out. I say greys as in plural, but it was more like a single entity that was 4th dimensional. I was seeing the greys' temporal parts, i.e., the space-time worm. Look it up if you are unfamiliar with the term. There was another entity as well, a tall grey, the one whose face is now seared in my mind. However, at this point, he was still nondescript. The tall grey did not come from inside the ship, like the little greys. He just appeared there, already outside once the ship had landed. My dream self was watching this through the window, nearly blinded by the light shining through. Panic increases, but remember my training. Throw up a psychic shield and focus my intent to let them know I don't want contact. The little greys keep coming, but I don't let them in. The tall grey directs a kind of beam towards me. It travels through the door, and I become paralyzed, not just in the dream, but in reality as well. They're pushing their way in, and I abort. Suddenly my surroundings are gone, and my perspective becomes first person, where previously this had all been in the third. I'm now being sucked through the vortex. I'm sure some of you are familiar with them, flying like a bat out of hell, desperate to get back to my body. While I'm traveling through the vortex, the tall grey intercepts me. The vortex begins to destabilize, and my vision starts flickering and flashing. The alien's face passes through the walls of the vortex and emerges into my field of view. It was a grey mantis, the most vile and malicious face I've ever seen. It was horrible, terrifying. Pray that you never come face to face with one. I cry out at the top of my lungs, "Oh God, help me." Slam back into my body, with my then GF, married now, gripping my arm and shaking me. In the seconds immediately following my return to reality, I see a shadow man standing at the foot of the bed. He dissolves away into the air. I have often experienced sleep paralysis, but this was unlike any other time. My wife wakes me up when I start to yell, or rather, when it happens I think I'm screaming, but it's usually just a whimper that gets louder gradually, and never have I actually used words. This time, there was no gradual increase in volume. I straight up yelled the words. This was also the only time I've actually seen a shadow person after an attack. The only other time I've seen a shadow person was when I tripped on Benadryl. I told that story about a week ago in another thread on X. Maybe you remember it. Was it truly just a dream? Will you write me off and say it was just sleep paralysis? I don't know what to think myself. It wasn't a normal dream. It wasn't just another case of sleep paralysis. I know what SP feels like, and this was not the same.